Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by a contribution from the Princess, and here's her story. Hi, Ollie. It's the Princess. I know this is a topic you've covered before, but I need to include this as a chapter for my story. Hair is so important for females, especially when it's stolen from us. A woman's hair is her crowning glory. Chopped off, not cut, not trimmed, chopped off, gone. My brother was just born and she was complaining about having to deal with our hair. It apparently was too much for her. Not surprisingly, my mom never was able to handle too much at once, but expects everyone else to handle everything on their plates and then some, but that's a story for another day. So here we are. My older sister, 13, 14 years old, had very long, blonde, wavy, curly hair. I, 9 years old, had long, straight, wavy, baby fine hair that would tangle. My younger sister, 5 years old, had very curly hair. Mom just couldn't handle my younger sister's curly hair anymore. Not to toot my own horn, but looking at pictures, we were very cute girls. I remember people would compliment how cute we all were. Dad seemed proud of us when people would stop us and tell him how pretty and well-mannered we were. But not after that day. I remember I was in the middle of third grade and my mom took us to JCPenney's hair salon. It was a sunny day and we thought we were just going to get our little trims and get on with the day. We were going to the park up the street that afternoon, so we couldn't wait to get back home. We got there before the store opened. I remember walking through the store and Mom seemed to be rushing us to the salon, almost like she was in a hurry. She'd usually stop and look at things, but that day it was straight to the salon. She probably wanted to get there before any other customers would interfere with her plans. Mom had us stand there by the entrance while she was at the counter. There were whispers and looks, and the next things we were all taken to get our hair washed and then separated from each other and turned away from the mirror. We were ordered not to move and look straight ahead. It's not what usually happens when we get our haircuts. It seems so strange to me, but we were trained pretty well to shut up and not ask questions. It's so weird, but I remember so much about that day so long ago. I remember hearing the scissors snipping. They seemed to be snipping a lot more than usual. I remember the comb against the back of my neck. I remember the feel of cold metal of scissors on my neck and by my ears. I remember the feeling of a lot of cold air hitting my neck. I remember thinking that didn't seem right. Usually I would just wet my hair against my usually I would just feel wet hair against my neck and maybe just a little cold air blowing on my neck. Next thing I know, I'm seeing all the hair falling in front of my face. I kept trying to turn around to see the mirror or my sisters, and Mom ordered me to stay still with that scary face and voice. Boy, do I know that. That nasty face she has when she doesn't get her way, right before she would go into a rage. Stop moving, she would hiss at me. I felt something was off, but was so terrified of my mother, eventually I just stayed still, not moving, crying. That scared, confused cry, knowing something was happening, but not sure what exactly was going on. My chest hitching as I was trying to sit still and stare straight ahead. I remember my whole body was stiff, just trying to force myself not to move. I remember hearing my younger sister crying, but I don't remember if she heard me crying or if she figured out what was going on and started crying on her own. I just remember hearing crying and sobbing and was sitting there and knew it was bad. They just kept cutting and cutting and cutting. I remember closing my eyes really tight. It was like a bad dream. It seemed that time was going so slowly. Finally, I got to turn around in the mirror, and there I am, with a fucking boy's haircut. Not a cute girl pixie cut, but a fucking boy's haircut, and I looked like a boy. Borderline mothers destroy their daughters. They destroy their femininity, and one of the best ways to do it for them is fucking up their hair. It's a jealousy play. Probably couldn't deal with all the compliments you and your sisters got as children and saw you as competition. I see my older sister blonde hair is shaped into a Mrs. Brady mullet style. It was awful. My younger sister, well, that poor thing looked like a poodle with her curly short hair, basically a little white girl with an afro. The three of us are crying hysterically. Why would the women do this in the salon? Why would they have done that? It's crazy. Three of us are crying hysterically. I felt tricked, lied to, betrayed, and violated. Writing the story, I just realized I need to add this to my reasons I have massive trust issues list. Mom seemed pleased with herself when it was done and said it was for the best. She couldn't handle our hair anymore, and if she had to cut one of our hairs, she had to do us all. Wow. Wow. On a side note, I hope those hairstylists had nightmares for years for what they did to us. Fucking evil and unethical. I hope their hair fell out and that whatever money they got for what they did brought them bad luck. They should have thrown my mother out of there when she told them her plan. They should have. They should have. We had a hair salon at Macy's. Not all the Macy's had them, but the one I worked with had one. And she used to cut my hair. Shelly Belly was her name, and she used to cut my hair. She was one of the first people to get it under control. So she never, ever would have done. She never would have done that. Never, never. They should have at least stopped when they saw how upset we were and how cruel this was to three young girls. With a lot of my stories, I feel like I'm looking back and saying to myself, where the hell were the adults to stop this? And that's also why she probably came in before the store opened. Which all the stores that had hair salons, the salons, the store didn't open till 10, but the salons would open about 8. So we had the hair salon people coming in, getting their hair cut before the store, their hair done before the store opened. And she probably did that so no customers could see what she did. She didn't want too many customers in there. Back to the story, if I remember correctly, Dad was pissed when he got home that night, and I think there was a big fight over it, as there should have been. We were all hysterically crying in our bedrooms, but I remember loud yelling, but it was done. And there it is. She did it. She did it to piss your father off. She did it because she saw you and your two sisters as competition for your father, which is nuts. But not uncommon with the borderline woman. We didn't go to the park that day. We sat in our rooms crying for hours. It seemed after that day she dressed us. I can't describe it. We went from cute to not cute kids. She made us ugly. She dressed us ugly. She took away our femininity, stole it, destroyed it. She showed us that day she had control over us and that we had no say. We had no control. We had no opinion on what happens to us. We had no choice. She had total control over us. Just looking through a photo album, you can start out with 3 cute girls and flip a page and there's 3 sad, pathetic girls who lost their smiles and the light in their eyes was dimmed. I showed someone once the pictures, flipped the page, and they were like, what the actual fuck? We were forced to have these awful haircuts for years, and she took us to get the haircuts. When we got older, my sister would take us on the bus. We had strict marching orders and were scared to do otherwise. Each time we would sit in those chairs crying, miserable. And they continued to do it. They continued to cut your hair like that. But I don't remember anyone saying, I'm not going to cut this poor crying child's hair to an awful cut. Or, hey, let's fix this. It's whatever my mother wanted. I looked like a boy and my mom dressed me like a boy. People refer to me as a boy and I would be so upset. She didn't seem to care. No, she loved it. That was the whole point. That was the whole point. Seeing what's going on these days, I wonder if she was trying to make me a boy. In a way, yeah. Because she saw you as competition for your father. It's sick. Because that's how the borderline thinks. She's sick. Not sure why, since she had my baby brother, unless it was to give him a big brother. I just don't know. Right, well, your baby brother was not sexual competition for your father. She viewed 3 young girls, 3 children, as sexual competition for their own father. So I had to go back to school and got made fun of for looking like a boy for years. There are pictures from events, and she would dress us up, and I either looked like a boy or an old frumpy-dumpy lesbian. She made us all look frumpy-dumpy for years. She erased the cute young girls that we were, and we weren't allowed to be cute anymore. She completely destroyed our self-confidence and self-image growing up. We don't recall ever having anyone stop us after that to tell folks what pretty well-mannered girls we were. They would just stop and say how cute my brother is. Around 8th grade, my mom took me, and I once again had no say in my haircut, and it was horrible. After that, I flat out refused to cut my hair and started to let it grow out. Yeah, it looked terrible. A terrible haircut will still look terrible while it was growing out. You can just imagine the fights about that, but I stood my ground. It took months and months, but it finally grew out long enough where I felt I could get a good haircut. I took my allowance, went to one of the popular salons at the mall, got myself a cute haircut, a girl's haircut, similar to other girls at my school. Finally, I started looking like a girl again. I was so happy. I started to get my smile back. I started looking and dressing more like a girl my age. I wasn't mistaken for a boy anymore. Soon after, my youngest sister ended up doing the same, and I guess at that point, Mom gave up controlling her hair and clothes. My sister ended up finding someone who worked with really curly hair, and they were able to cut it for her hair type. She started looking more like a girl, too. Fast forward a bunch of years, and my youngest sister has 2 girls. The oldest has hair like mine. The younger has extra curly hair, more curly than my sister's when she was growing up. Mom started in about cutting the younger one's hair because it's too much, and they would have had to cut the other's hair. It would be short. It'll be easier. The hair is too long. It'll be too hot for summer, etc., etc., etc. I don't even understand how you or your sister even carry on a relationship with your mother after that. How you even look at her without wanting to bury your fist in her fucking borderline face. I don't. Now, when Mom starts in on something, it's like a record on repeat and repeat and repeat, on and on for months. Yeah, because that's the borderline. When they don't get their way, they will just keep hammering something until they get their way. She didn't want more competition, that's for sure. I told her it's not her place and none of her business, and she's not going to like the consequences if she keeps it up. I caught her talking to the younger one about cutting all her hair off. Obsessed with destroying. They're obsessed with destroying the females in their families. Whether it's their daughters, their granddaughters, their nieces, they don't care. They see every female as sexual competition. I caught her talking to the younger one about cutting all her hair off, and she has beautiful curly hair, by the way, because it would be easy and she wouldn't have to have all that hair making her hot in the summer. Oh, you'll be much cooler in the summer if you cut your hair, and it'll be easier to brush, all that crap. Oh, you mean kind of like how you groom a dog? The same mentality that you groom an animal or a pet. This is what I'm telling you about narcissism and cluster Bs. Treat you like pets, like dogs, like animals, and expect you to be obedient like one. I told her to knock it off. If I caught her once, she's been whispering in that poor child's ear for a while. I told my dad to step in and shut her down, and of course nothing happened. Well, why didn't he step in and shut her down after the first time? See, this is on him. This is on him for letting her get away with this for years and years and years. After the first freak out, when she took you 3, and he didn't know about it and came home and he had the freak out, that should have ended it right there. Should be, you ever do this to my children again, I will throw you out on your fucking ass. But he didn't do it. He allowed it to go on for years and years and years. It's on him. My brother told her to drop it, and she gave him the "I'm the grandma, I could say whatever I want." Then she started talking about taking them for a haircut, for a nice summer cut. I knew what she meant, dude. I would have oh my god, they're gonna do what they want to do. So I did what I had to do. Called my sister and told her what mom was going on and on for months about cutting the girl's hair off. Not cut, chop like she did to us, and she was manipulating her little one. Well, my sister came down like a ton of bricks, and mom, of course, denied saying anything. My sister told her over her dead body would she allow anyone to destroy her children's hair like she did to us. My mom had the fucking nerve to say, "We asked her to cut our hair." Like, at this point, like, you should have been cutting this bitch out of your life years ago, because she is dangerous. Her jealousy, her rage, her vindictiveness is just flat out dangerous. She did it to her own children. Did y'all think she wouldn't do it to anyone else's? At that, my sister snaps and loses her shit on her. Then she told her husband what happened. He came down on mom like 16 tons of bricks, stormed over to the house, threatened that if she chops either of his kids' hair, or if she got caught whispering in their ears like that again, he will pick up his family and move, and she'll never see his wife or kid or his kids or his wife again. And he read her the riot act and stormed off. If you guess that mom has a lot of boundary issues and that's caused a lot of problems before that day, you'd be correct. I have more stories about that. So your sister's husband, your brother-in-law, acted how your father should have acted. At least she married better than your mother did. Now get this. Apparently that whole situation was all my fault. First, it was she didn't say that. Then it was she was just talking. Then it was I shouldn't have told my sister. And of course, my sister shouldn't have told her husband. I just laughed in her face and said she couldn't bullshit her way out of this one. So she dropped it after that. You should have dropped her long ago, long before any of this happened, all three of you. The fact that she would even want to do that to her own children and then her grandchildren, like, why would you want a monster like that around you for any fucking reason? For the life of me, seeing how miserable we were after she cut our hair, why the fuck would you want that for her granddaughters? Because, yes, that is the question. That is the question is the answer right there. Why the fuck would she want that for her granddaughters? Because she sees every female she's close to as competition. That's why. The misery was on purpose. The misery wasn't a consequence. The misery was what was the intention. She intended to make you miserable, just like she intended to make her granddaughters miserable. Because that's what she feeds off of. If they're miserable, she don't have to compete against any of them. Now looking back at my 9-year-old self, I have to wonder why. Why on earth would a mother basically make her cute daughters ugly? It makes no logical sense. Here are some theories I've come up with, because before I even read your theories, the answer is to make you miserable. So she doesn't have to compete with you. She saw you all as sexual competition for your father. Sick, but this is how they think. And this happens a lot in the black community. This happens a lot with black women. This is what happens. Here's some theories I've come up with so far. She was jealous of the attention we got from other people. She was jealous of the attention we got from Dad. Right there. She wanted more attention on her and my baby brother, the golden child. She wanted to make us all into boys, or at least me, perhaps, right, because she doesn't have to compete with boys. It's all about the competition. She wanted to control us by destroying our self-image, self-esteem. She hated us. She wanted to destroy us. She didn't want us to compete with my baby brother. No. She didn't want us. She wants you to compete with her in her sick, twisted, borderline mind. This is how borderline mothers are. This is why they end up transing their daughters, because they don't want to compete with them. They see their daughters as competition, because the borderline woman can't stop thinking through her pussy. She can't. She won't. That's how she puts all her value into who wants to fuck her. And any attention that's not on her, she sees it as, she takes it as sexual competition for her own fucking, for their own father. She wanted to control our femininity and wanted us to know she will take it away when she wants. She didn't want you to have any femininity at all, because even a scrap of femininity is something she has to compete with. Sadly, I think it's all of the above and then some. I'm sure you'll have additional insights I haven't thought of yet. This ended up being a bit longer than I originally thought it would be. Thanks, the princess. Typical borderline mother who wants to destroy her daughter because she doesn't want to compete with her. Sees her daughters and any other females around her as sexual competition. And it doesn't matter. Matters not the age. Matters not how young they are. It doesn't matter how immature they are. It doesn't matter how innocent the children are. This is how their mind operates. They know no boundaries. I'm the grandmother. I could say what I want. I mean, that is right out of the Narcissism handbook. But again, this is on your father. Your father should have shut this the fuck down when she brought the three of you home like that. Should have tossed her out of the goddamn house and changed the locks, you sick bitch. Why would you do something like this? Why? Because you don't want to maintain somebody, the curly sister's hair, so you chopped all three of their hair off? And then she tries to repeat it on her grandchildren. She wanted to make you, because deep down, listen, deep down, your mother knew you hated her. You knew y'all hated her for it. And she wanted, what she wanted to do to your sister's kids, she wanted her sister's kids to hate her as much as you all hate your mother. That was the other motivation there. She wanted to destroy the relationship. And also let your sister know they're not your kids. They're really all my kids. It's all mine. And none of them will be in sexual competition with me. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for the contribution and story, Princess. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful. This channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to subscribe to both of my channels on Rumble. Follow me on Twitter and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.